Welcome everybody. We start with BIMSTEC Education Forum. May I request Mr. Satyam Roy Chaudhary, Chancellor, Sister Nivedita University, and Chairman, ICC National Expert Committee on Higher Education and Training, to kindly deliver his welcome address. Mr. Satyam Roy Chaudhary.
Good afternoon, and very warm welcome to all the dignitaries present here. It is an honor for me to welcome all of you at the BIMSTEC Education Forum organized by the Indian Chamber of Commerce. BIMSTEC has played an important role in developing human resources through various educational inventions and interventions. BIMSTEC had been the educational and cultural thread of communication between India and other BIMSTEC nations. In today's era of globalization, we need to emphasize in bridging the gap that exists between skill and knowledge. India, being the oldest knowledge societies and also world's second largest provider of education, continues to attract students from various BIMSTEC regions. Our government offers various scholarships for foreign students like the General Cultural Scholarship, the Colombo Plan, and bilateral agreement and exchange program. The most important one being Ayush Scholarship Scheme, which offers 30 scholarships each year for the 6 BIMSTEC member nations for pursuing technical courses in traditional system of medicine, such as Ayurveda, Unani, homeopathy, and Siddha. We, the member of BIMSTEC, should focus on establishing multi-dimensional connectivity in various regions for fostering economic and social development through education. BIMSTEC region comprises a large demography which has the potential for supplying human resources to the rest of the world. With the right education, the human resources of the entire BIMSTEC region will get fine-tuned and get future-ready. It can be concluded that strengthening the research base in the higher education among the BIMSTEC nation will recreate the existing knowledge gap. Hence, it would be wise to form a forum or a body to facilitate a smoother process of a student exchange program amongst the BIMSTEC nations. This body should investigate all the aspects of the program, starting from education visas to the delivery of courses certificates. I hereby would request everyone present here today to spare some time to rethink a strategy that would strengthen the regional connectivity. We should also bring our focus on developing digital exchange channels between students and faculties within the BIMSTEC region to enhance logistical cost, effectiveness, and holistic development. Before ending, I would like to mention that the education is the tool to cultivate future leaders, and we, as a progressive forum, should play an important role in creating the leaders for tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. To proceed with the day's session, may I now request Professor Anupam Basu, Pro Vice Chancellor, Sister Nivedita University and former Director of NIT Durgapur, to please be on stage. Sir will be moderating the session, sharing his thoughts, and also summing up. Professor V.N. Rajashekharan Pillai, Vice Chancellor, Somaiya Vidyavihar University and former Chairman of UGC, so kindly be on dais. I think sir has probably gone somewhere. He's here only. I'll arrange for his presence. So, Professor Basu, you may please take your seat. I'll look for Professor Pillai. Ms. Do Win E. Kin, founder and owner, Streamline Training Learning Center. She's representing Myanmar Women Entrepreneurs Association. Ms. Kin. Professor Dr. Bhola Thapa, Vice Chancellor, Kathmandu University, Nepal. Dr. Subarno Bose, founder and chief mentor of the IndiSmart Group and IIHM, and CEO, International Hospitality Council, UK. Thank you, sir. Professor Surat Horachaikul, Assistant Professor, Department of International Relations and Director, Indian Studies Center, Chulalongkorn University, Thailand. Professor Pillai, sir, please take your seat. We have a recorded message from Dr. Debanjan Chakraborty. He is the Director, East and Northeast India, British Council. We will play that later, but now we would start with the special address from Professor V.N. Rajashekharan Pillai, Vice Chancellor, Somaiya Vidya Vihar University. Professor S.P. Singh, Professor S.P. Singh, Vice Chancellor, Royal Global University, Assam. So over to you, Professor Basu. We will start with Professor Pillai's special address, and then you can carry on with the panel discussion. Yes, Professor Pillai.
Thank you very much for the invitation to address this elite gathering of educationists from the Bay of Bengal connected countries. The theme of this particular session is harnessing the demographic dividend for education and economic cooperation, and also for inclusive growth of these different countries. I have been in the higher education system in India for the last 52 years. We have, in India, we have a new policy, national education policy on higher education also since 2020. When it comes to demographic dividend, probably India is one of the, of course, all the other countries are also of the same status. Probably in numbers we are very high, but all the other countries are also the same status. Educational interventions, particularly higher educational interventions in these countries, are also some sort of there are several parallels for that. Recently, just last week, I was in a NAFTA conference in Washington, D.C., looking at how internationalization of education can happen across the world. More than 12,000 participants were there. Looking at India and the countries, neighboring countries, their demographic dividend, how the other European countries and American countries can utilize the demographic dividend of our countries to strengthen the higher education system in those countries. If you just look at those highly developed countries, you will see that there has been a lot of infrastructure developed, lot of human resources developed in the university system in those countries. But there is a problem of getting students. They are looking at India. They are looking at our fellow countries which are represented here. And they are trying to attract our institutions, our students, right from +2 onwards, right from school onwards. They are trying to attract our students. And therefore, an initiative of this kind, BIMSTEC, is very important in looking at our own capabilities and how we can strengthen our network, how we can strengthen our collaboration in probably some sort of a out-excelling the European and American universities. We have immense strength. I don't have to narrate the demographic dividend or anything. Every teacher, every vice chancellor, everybody is aware of the capabilities of the youth in this country, the strength of the youth population, and therefore it is very important to strengthen the linkages among these countries through higher education institutions. When it comes to higher education, I will be definitely now concentrating on India. When it comes to higher education in India, you can see that we have several thousands of universities, several 10,000s of colleges, several 10,000s of institutions which are part of the Ministry of Commerce. Maybe there are institutions, higher education institutions, which are part of the Ministry of External Affairs. Each ministry, in addition to the universities and colleges in this country, each ministry has its own educational interventions, higher educational and capacity building interventions. I'm glad that the Ministry of External Affairs is giving a nodal support for this intervention. It is not only in the top cities in the country. Probably we have to look at the demographic dividend, which is particularly, very prominent in the village and villages of in the country. And if we just look at, I work in Mumbai now, we see that large number of students coming from the different villages to Mumbai also. It's happening. But we should also look at how we can strengthen the educational and higher educational and infrastructural capabilities of our village institutions also, villages also. Some of the villages are highly empowered. So just looking at the higher education and NEP policy, we are liberalizing education in a very significant way. Almost every day from the university, I was heading the University Grants Commission for some time. I was also heading the open university system in the country for 5 years, science and technology. So if you just look at opportunities in this country, you can see that not only the colleges and universities, but there are also large number of industries coming in a big way. Our country has also is promoting the professor of practice. For example, earlier to teach in a university, it is limited for those who are getting a PhD, those who are getting an MPhil, those who are getting some sort of qualification in some national trust and so that. But now in the university system in the country, it is possible for us to identify people who are in different walks of life, different practice fields. They can be invited as professors in the universities. Up to 40% of the curriculum, can be delivered, executed, examined, and certified by the industries, social sector, and several other things. And there are also opportunities. For example, this 40% of the credits of the universities can be earned from any institution in the world. And therefore, interaction between these universities. Looking at those universities which are now, of course, there are several universities are represented from other countries, and we have a great opportunity just to look at one-to-one collaborations with these universities and taking 40% of the credits from other universities. It is not just limited for, this 40% need not be limited for one university. This 40% can be 4 into 10, that means from 4 universities. It can be from, 20% can be from a university, 10% can be from the social sector, 10% can be from the industry. So for the industry collaboration also, this window is now getting opened. And therefore, joint degrees, all these things are possibilities. Joint degrees, earning of credits, earning credits from all over the world, all these things are permitted now for the universities. There is nothing which prevents, from my personal experience I am saying that there is nothing which prevents the universities in India just to look at any opportunities anywhere in the world, not only in India, anywhere in the world for collaboration. There is nothing limiting. Of course, there are some quality restrictions which are mentioned. For joint degrees, they mentioned that some sort of a certification from the National Assessment and Accreditation Council or NIR of ranking is necessary. But that is also for a joint degree and higher levels of collaboration. But for inter-institutional collaboration, there are a lot of possibilities. And in science and technology, in the social humanities and social sciences, there are great institutions in this country which are contributing significantly. The private universities, for example, the private universities in this country are some sort of a new origin, a recent origin, maybe 20 years. You can see the private universities coming in a very big way. In this eastern region itself, my colleagues are sitting there. In the eastern region itself, the private universities are coming in a big way, interacting unconventionally with institutions, industries and all that. These, interventions of the Indian Chamber of Commerce in this regard is also very, very, very important. And so to sum up my initial remarks, I want to say that the door is open. It is for us to just identify. It is for us to promote the independent initiatives of the faculty members. It is for us to identify what are the capabilities and other institutions in the world. And then it need not be a institution to institution 100% collaboration. It can be a research core collaboration, identifying a research core in this country in a specific area, maybe in ocean development, maybe several areas are there, new areas are there. So it is now through technology we have been collaborating. It is not only through technology, probably direct, face-to-face, hybrid collaboration, all these things are possible. Lot of things are happening, and in this country I have seen that. I was also heading the National Assessment and Accreditation Council, several years ago. I have seen that large number of private universities are coming in topping in excellence in this country. I was always part of the government university system. We were all part of the government university system. There is nothing like the difference between private university and public university system. If you just look at the private university system in this country as of today, you will see that very eminent people who have served the public university in the system in the country. Look at Calcutta itself. You will see hundreds of examples. They are part of the private university system. So, and there is a need in this country to provide education to large sections of society to enhance the gross enrollment ratio. We have several thousands of colleges, and we are converting them to universities. By 2035, it is expected that each and every college in this country would be a university. That means those institutions have the autonomy, they have the freedom to interact with any other institutions in the world, and therefore we should just grasp these opportunities to strengthen our network first. Of course, let me talk today our network first for strengthening this collaboration in all the areas of scientific and technological collaboration, in higher education collaboration, in harnessing technology for collaboration, and also providing opportunities. The very purpose of education is to enhance the quality of life and life management systems. And we are all doing this exercise in a very significant way. Let us take a resolve that we will collaborate one-to-one, one-to-four, one-to-many in that way. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Professor Pillai. Now it's over to Professor Basu to conduct the panel discussion, sir.
A very good afternoon to all of you. And thank you, Professor Pillai, for setting the tone of today's discussion. As I was looking at the topic of today's discussion, but prior to that, let me just express my gratitude for having what should I say, panel of luminaries, starting from Professor S.P. Singh, Vice Chancellor, Royal Global University, Mrs. Winnie Khaim, am I right? Yeah. From Streamline Training Learning Center of Myanmar, Professor Dr. Bhola Thapa, from Kathmandu University, is the Vice Chancellor of Kathmandu University, Dr. Shubharna Bose, Founder and Chief Mentor of IndiSmart and IIHM, Professor Surat Horachaikul, Assistant Professor, Department of International Relations and Director, Indian Studies Center, Chulalongkorn University, and Dr. Devanjan Chakraborty will be present online, right, through video recording. We can go to that last at the end, right? So now coming to, I love at the very outset, I'd like to thank you all for making it convenient to attend this panel discussion. I was looking at the topic, and the topic has got different parts. The first part is talking about harnessing demographic dividend to boost economic growth. The second part is talking about transformative role of academic collaboration in enhancing person-to-person contact. And the third part is talking about educational ties and student exchange program. So I just tried to select some keywords. The first keyword being demographic dividend. At the very outset, what prompts me to say is, whenever we talk about demographic dividend, we must have demographic respect. Unless we pay proper respect to the demographic variations, we cannot really garner the dividends and cannot reap the harvest. So, and if we just take India, here of course, India, Myanmar, Nepal, Bangladesh, many other countries are there in this BIMSTEC. But if we take just India as a case, then here also we have got a lot of demographic varieties and a lot of multilingual varieties. So we have to respect those multilinguality and the demographic variation in India and of course beyond to all our neighboring nations. The second one is academic collaboration, which we always talk about, but I am really enthralled to see the word or the phrase person-to-person contact, because everywhere nowadays we are harping on online, although it has got a lot of advantage. We know that. But something that is going in the background is the person-to-person contact. We still cherish our person-to-person contact with our teachers, person-to-person contact with our friends, person-to-person contact with our co-researchers. So I'm really happy to see that this has been specially emphasized in this topic formulation. Regarding educational ties through student exchange programs, of course this will be a fallout of all these above earlier mentioned things. So without much ado, I'll just move on to one panelist after another and would like to just to systematize the thing. Should we keep 10 minutes in one round? The first round or 7 to 8 minutes, so that we'll often overshoot to 10 minutes, I know. So 7 to 8 minutes for each panelist, and then we can go for second round, and there can be some queries which can be raised by other panelists, and then the discussion will be open to the floor. Numbers are, I think we have got a lot of time. Okay, 5 plus minus 2, okay. So you take your time, let's start, and whenever it's exceeding too much, I'll play the role, okay. So basically what I'm just looking forward to is when we are talking of demographic dividends and the variety, then each of us have got our strengths and weaknesses. Say in India or even in Nepal or in Myanmar, we have got some features of the students, some strengths of the education system there, some promises which can be shared by all of us. And also we have to identify our weaknesses so that we can overcome them maybe by adopting some modified maybe models from the other countries. That is the real collaboration that we can achieve. So I started with Professor S.P. Singh, Vice Chancellor, Royal Global University. You may sit here and speak, and if you feel very energetic, you can also walk in there. It's up to you.
Thank you so much, the moderator, Professor Anupam Basu, my fellow panelists, and the esteemed audience. That includes Mr. Satyam Rai Chaudhary, Pradeep Agarwal ji, and other many eminent people from Calcutta. The topic which probably we are going to discuss today is this harnessing demographic dividend to boost economic growth. So why we are talking about this topic is well known to BIMSTEC and the organizers, but I'll go in the reverse direction. First, I'll think and talk about economic growth, because the ultimate objective of cooperation or ultimate objective of demographic dividend is the prosperity, not only economic growth. I will extend that economic growth to prosperity, because economic growth in Indian way of thinking doesn't limit it to the per capita income. It also includes per capita happiness. It also includes per capita peace. It also includes per capita collaborations. So that probably we don't talk when we talk about economic growth. So I'm talking economic growth, and I think very rightly been marked by our moderator that it is not limited. If we are going to be together and cultures meet, only then probably the real economic growth will happen. If you talk in terms of the population of 3 countries which are being represented here, or maybe we are very close to them, one is Bangladesh, second is Myanmar, Bhutan and India together. The total population of these 4 countries is almost 1/4 population, or maybe just little less than 1/4 population of the world. India and Bangladesh together contributes to, today is around 161. It is 161 million people in both the countries. So this is something which is extraordinary with respect to. And also we know the economic growth is now taking a drive from US and UK based system to the Southeast Asian countries. And we all are very aware of it. And 2030 it is expected that India will become a 7 trillion economy, and we are going to be the number 2 in the world with respect to the economic growth. And this will happen or not, it will depend upon, one is demographic dividend, but it should be only demographic dividend. When we talk about in terms of economics, that what is the involvement of today's 65 million people who are engaged in the productive age group of demographic dividends, that talks about 14 plus and less than 65. My excuse for the people above 65, but the demographic dividend definition of UNEP says that, so I'm repeating, 14 to 65 they consider is the dividend time and productive time. Based upon that, India is going to be highest in terms of demographic dividends, not today, but till 2030. Later on, they have not predicted, but it's still 2030. So in that circumstances, how to take advantage of this situation? And I think the other 2 topics which are related to this main topic will go in that direction. That may be education, collaboration, other things. But before that, in terms of economics, if you talk about, I'll just share a data with you with respect to India. That is the people who are in the productive age group, how many of them are involved in which sector? Because with respect to demographic dividend, that will not fructify if the people involved in a particular sector will not change from quantum to quantum, not little bit. Means 50 to 60% of the people who are in the age group of 14 to 65 in India are involved in the primary sector, that is agriculture. Secondary sector contributes to 24.3% and tertiary sector contributes to 26.8%. If this continues, definitely we are not going to take advantage of the demographic dividend. It may become a demographic disaster. What I wanted to say is that with the help of education, We have 1,100 universities in the country. We have GER of 26.5%. We are trying to make the GER 50% by 2030. If another 1,000 more universities will not come, and I emphasize in private sector. I am not against government sector, but when Professor Pillai was talking about, Professor Pillai, last 21 years, I am only in the private sector. So I have this responsibility of telling, and why I'm telling you this is probably the time when panel discussion will happen. I will throw some light on that. We have issues of equity, we have issues of level playing fields. That is not the matter of discussion today. We'll do some other day. But I'm very sure with, if at all, education and focused education, if we try to make this demographic dividend, more primary should come to secondary, secondary should come to tertiary, and per capita income and per capita prosperity, if enhanced in this country, I think India will not only become economically superpower, but will become emotionally, spiritually, and morally superpower. That is the objective. And thanks for BIMSTEC and ICC for inviting me today. Over to you, sir. I hope I have managed my time within.
Wonderfully, wonderful. Yeah. Professor Singh has brought in another dimension, and which is very close to my heart. Whenever we talk about economic growth and all those things, along with that, what really matters is the prosperity of the people, the well-being of the people, the physical, the psychological, spiritual, total well-being, and that is something that we have to look into. Now we will just move to Myanmar with Winnie to make her points.
Actually, my heart is beating very fast because I'm sitting with a gentleman. And I'm the only young generation, and I'm the 1 millionaire entrepreneur. So today I'm going to share as the young women entrepreneurs' vision in education and about the demographic dividend as much as I know. Because I'm not from this high educational professors like them, so please, if my discussion is not very relevant, please excuse me. I'm going to share what I know. So this is my first time coming to India, and I've never experienced about anything before, but everything that I was taught in my high school about the history, reminded me of everything, and I blended very well. So the curries, the taste, the spices, even the languages, like saying like alu, longji, prata. So this is like everyday what we're saying. So I see that, oh yes, both countries have been British colonies. So we have very similar culture, and we also adopt many Indian culture in our country, and I feel very blended here and adapted very well. So I'm very appreciate about the history that that we've been taught in our education system since I was young, in high school. So I see the impact of education that can change to the future generations. So today I want to share about two facts. One is about the ethical trade, because when we talk about demographic and dividend like business growth, because I see as an entrepreneur many young startup companies and also SMEs, they've died in business after several years. So I've been always thinking about it, why it's happening, because we've been not taught in our education system about ethical business, ethical trade. Because I founded my school when I was 20 years old, because my parents are in manufacturing business, but I don't want to follow their lead. So I did it by my own. And today I started with a preschool, and today it has been a high school, so a private school, and it's a hybrid school, and we have more than 1,000 students, and more 2,000 students are in a registration. So what I see is many young people, when they start working or doing their own business, they always go for the profit-based business. So these profit-based business for the startups and SMEs are not sustainable. So what we do, we have to start investing in a friendship, trust, and ethical business. So I think for the demographic dividend in all our BIMSTEC regional countries, we have to educate our young generation to reduce the risk of economy, what do you call it? Growth. So I think this is a very crucial point that we all have to consider, because if we've been educated since we're young, then we already, adapt to what do's and don'ts, and also learn from those entrepreneurs and business people who have already made so many mistakes. We are very happy to learn even in our secondary schools, because even the young people, whether from primary or secondary, they are always adult. So I think as an Asian, many in our countries, we grew up in a very luxurious life. So parents always treat young people and children as babies and kids. I think this is very wrong, because as a teacher, and I started with a preschool, so my students were 2 years old, 3 years old. That's how I started. So why I started the school, because I saw after I finished my matriculation exam, and while I was going to university, I saw young children, they really need education that can link to the global world. Because our country used to be the closed country, and they are very scared of talking to international people, traveling. They always save in gold and land, but they never invest in traveling and buying experiences. So that's why I started this preschool, because preschool ages are the best to shape the future. So we have to start educating to young people, young children, and we have to treat them like adult people. So this is the first message. And the second one is that, like I mentioned earlier, this history, the curricula is very important. It has a high impact to change the future. And that's why I really suggest, because BIMSTEC for me is the very first time. I've been going and participating in a lot of youth forums since I was 20 years old, but this is my very first time hearing and knowing about BIMSTEC. So I feel like a waste. What if I knew about BIMSTEC like 20 years ago? Everything would be much easier for me. I might have already collaborated in universities, like bringing universities into my country, and also maybe doing lots of exchange programs, etc. So I think, like putting these kind of BIMSTEC, ASEAN, also our Excellency is here, so I'm giving a message to him. So we should be, I think, teach about all these things into the curriculum as well. I think that'll be give lots of familiarity and also break the culture barriers. So I think I want to suggest about this, yes. And also, I rather talk about friendship. So economic friendship to grow the business, to grow the dividend, demographic, everything. Because in certain schools, the parents are very supportive about competition. But to me, I think friendship is very important. It's because once we have more friends, we become stronger, right? So if you make more enemies, you become weaker. And strong people never make enemies. We always go for making friends, and we started building human capital since we're young. Because mostly parents always teach us about building financial capital, right? And knowledge capital, but they seem to forget about building human capital. So Asia is coming. Asia is one. So we are the future, and even our younger generations are the bigger future. So we have to invest and treat them and respect them. So this is the message. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Fantastic dimensions have come out, and I really thank the speaker for bringing out the importance of ethics in business, which is seldom neglected when we talk about economic growth and such other terms. The other point that she made was fundamental. That is, all these things should start from school. And so when we are talking of education and it being an education forum, often we concentrate only on higher education. I think the school education, where the real foundation of ethics is built, must be equally emphasized. And thank you very much for pointing that out. And also, what a beautiful terminology and beautiful aspect of friendship, not only competition. In this capitalist world, we know what competition is. I was just listening to Narayan Murthy in one of those clips, reels, where he was saying that competition is the best guru. But that's true in one aspect. But unless it is backed up, you will be alone in this run for competition. When you go up the roof, you are very lonely there. So unless you have friends and build up friendship, real dividends will never arrive. And also she emphasized the necessity of studying history and culture of other countries. Another point that we often neglect in the run of our curriculum or completion of curriculum. So thank you very much for bringing this fantastic dimensions. Now I move to Professor Dr. Bhola Thapa, Vice Chancellor, Kathmandu University, Nepal.
Thank you, Professor Basu. My dear fellow panelists and ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for inviting Kathmandu University in this very important gathering of BIMSTEC. Of course, I fully endorse and acknowledge the opinion already presented by Professor Basu and Professor Singh on dividend, a demographic dividend for the economic growth. Sometimes examples also explains the thing, and Nepal or could be one of the very good example for the regional cooperation. The thing which we are doing at Kathmandu University could also explain the three thematic area which is presented here to discuss for importance of education for economic growth, and then it's the ways we do it. For Nepali people, historically, the Kashi and Banaras used to be the place where they used to get education and wisdom. Not only for in modern days, even if we recall Buddha, when he was born in Nepal, he came to Sarnath and then he was enlightened over there, and then he started spreading his wisdom. That means that the importance of regional cooperation was there in the past, and as well as in the future, I think it will be more important. Of course, when we talk about the economic cooperation, the BIMSTEC, I have not attended the earlier meetings of the BIMSTEC, but in this South Asian region, we had a SAARC. And SAARC had a very strong, I think, the educational activities, including the SAARC University of 7 nations, including Afghanistan, 8 nations here in Delhi. And there are a lot of endowment chairs and then exchange programs, scholarships and other things. Besides what in the opening remarks, it was presented by the Sister Nivedita University Chancellor, like India has been providing several scholarships to the students of the region as well as all around the world. But what will be the difference in activities and cooperation between, like when we have SAARC and now in the BIMSTEC? Nepal has a little special interest and a special opportunity with the BIMSTEC as well. I will come back to that. But when we are talking about the demographic dividend, and of course, as Professor Basu has already mentioned, like it's not only the nationality, it's also the inclusion because the ethnicity which we have, especially in this region, BIMSTEC region, it's quite a different, and then the inclusion is one important aspect. And especially I'm also proud, like the university which I am representing, like Kathmandu University is not that old, it's only 30 years old. Even in higher education in Nepal, it's not that old, it's only about half a century. Otherwise, before that, even in my time, like especially in many of the technical areas, we used to come to the neighboring countries, even in India, to have our educations. And but when I am here, I'm equally proud to share with you that with the university, with 30 years of history, we have produced about 42,000 graduates. That also on a very specialized area, like especially in the medicine, 50% of that in the medicine. We have engineering, science, technology, management, and so on. But the issue which I am talking about is the dividend, or let's say the contribution, the gender dividend. Especially out of the 42,000 graduates which we have produced, 50% are the girls, women's. Especially in our society, with our status, this is really a good statistics. I would say that out of these 42,000 these graduates, and that with long history of getting education in India or Bangladesh or Sri Lanka, in the region, Kathmandu University is also really proud that like 13% of our graduates are foreign students. And that also, as I said, it's on this technical area, and then I just dissected this data, and then I was really glad that within the BIMSTEC countries, it was 4,752 that they have graduated from Kathmandu University, one from Myanmar. From India, it's always like either in both ways. Nepali students have thousands or millions of Nepali, they might have taken education from India, but even from Kathmandu University, it's 4,364 Indians have graduated in medicine, engineering, environment science, and other, and so. So from Bangladesh, there are 20, Bhutan 13, and Sri Lanka is 354. So at least I, as a leader of the academic institution, I'm proud. And then if we talk about the cooperations, like it's not only the exchange, movement of the students. There are 3 institutes, medical colleges in Nepal. They have been invested by or established by the Indian groups. So that's really nice. But there's really a challenge. Like the challenge may not be only for Nepal, but there's the demography or the age group of students which are coming up. As Professor Singh has mentioned, it's the same true for Nepal also. That the age group which is coming to the university level. So by 2030, I think that will start decreasing in Nepal also. So that has been, it's not just because of this demography of age group, but the global migration of the students are creating quite a lot of challenge. I had an opportunity to attend the AIU, Association of Indian University Vice Chancellors Conference in April, and many of the Vice Chancellor of Indian University also say, like enrollment in the universities, especially higher education, is challenge. Because I was told about, especially in the public universities, 30% seats are vacant, and it's true in Nepal also. It's because that there is a trend of global migration. We thought like with the COVID, it will stop, but it's increasing. And that's one thing is it's increasing because of that, and other is like in the +2 school education, there are about 400,000 plus students are coming up in the school education in Nepal, and 50% of that will complete their +2, and they are, let's say, they are eligible to come to the university. But Nepal has a really interesting history. It means story this time is about more than 100,000 students are going abroad or taking a permission from Nepal government to go abroad. So that is almost 50% of the eligible students of Nepal are going abroad, and it's a really interesting data. And I was also dissecting like where they want to go in the SARC region or BIMSTEC region, and unfortunately, it was really bad, a sad picture. These students who wanted to go abroad, like basically they wanted to go to the West, more than, if we just see the data in Australia, Nepal is one among the very top countries to have foreign students in it, at almost third in the Australia. So 13,000 plus students. No, it's even more, I think, more they are in the Australia. And interestingly, like out of the 100,000 plus who want to go abroad, they just want to have a sort of a language course. Like for example, 40,000 plus are taking a no objection letter from government to learn a Japanese language. That means they don't want to go to the university, but they want to go to the job market. They want to have some certification so that they will get the job. And it's really a challenge. Whether we are really preparing people for future, or we are just sending that into the job market. And the other interesting is this data or information from Nepal is almost 4 million Nepali youths are in the Gulf country in the labor market without taking a formal training, either technical training or university level education. So this, I don't know what will be the future when such a large number of people are abroad. It's really alarming, like there is quite a lot of pressure on this national economy also. It's not only the person is going, they are also taking quite a lot of foreign exchange to pay the tuition fee, and sometimes they are permanently migrating. And I was just checking like how many of this the students they are applying for this BIMSTEC countries, when like as I told, like more than 100,000 students are applying to go abroad. So this is last year's data. So to go to Bangladesh, there are only 403 students they applied. This is application. It's not that they have taken admissions in those countries. In Bhutan, of course, nobody wanted to go. India, it was only 2,958. But we know that every year in Indian universities there are around 20,000 plus students coming. That was what the AIU General Secretary also informed us. So Myanmar, nobody is going, and Sri Lanka, only 2, and then it was interesting, even Thailand, I think it was around 400, they wanted to go. But anyway, like we cannot stop students' migration. In this open society, they want to move. But if we can jointly do something, and if we can retain them in our area, there are more chances they will come back. Those who are going to the West are not coming back. And for that, like Kathmandu University has some good examples or experiences. As I said, there are 3 institutions was established by the Indian investment. Last year, in April, when Honorable Prime Minister Modi visited Nepal, I had opportunity to exchange a letter of agreement with IIT Madras to start a joint master's program at Kathmandu University, and then IIT Madras. That we have done. That we have already started. So we have already signed an agreement with IIT Hyderabad to have a joint PhD program with a double logo. So even I was told like that was the first experience for IITs also to have a joint degree. And of course, those sort of cooperative and collaborative agreements are there. And with the establishment or with the agreement with the WTO, now any universities can open the campuses abroad, and that was the biggest challenge for Nepal. Like we have almost about 80 campuses of the foreign universities. They are running a program in Nepal with very limited control on the quality and then the delivery and the numbers. So, but we said, okay, in the region also, if we can try something. We don't know whether like the individual countries regulations will allow that or not. And I was also quite glad to hear that, like when government India is providing a scholarship for the IUs. So I had signed an agreement with one of the institutions in Tirupati last year to start a bachelor's program on yogic science of Kathmandu University at Tirupati, and connecting Tirupati with the Pasupati, so that at least there will be some sort of tie and some sort of a regional bonding. So we would look forward, like especially for the BIMSTEC region. Nepal's interest is, rather than compared to SAARC, is in all the BIMSTEC region, there are some Nepali community, except in Sri Lanka. I think even in Bangladesh, there is some Nepali community. Starting from Nepal to Thailand, there are some Nepali community, and if they want to study about Nepali language or Nepali culture, at least we can have a sort of cooperations and collaborations. So we have, I would say, some good good opportunities. I was also lucky to attend the previous session here about gems and jewelries, and then Mr. Duggal, he was mentioning like now the interest of the youths, maybe rather than going for the hardcore courses or higher level courses, and they also don't want to be technicians, just going to ITI or something like that. So he welcomed like the institutions like Institutes of Crafts and Design, Institute of Fashion Technology, or Institute of Jewelry and Design. So from this year, by means taking lessons from the Indian institutions, we have also started a bachelor's course in crafts and design, so that really the people who are living on the remote area of this region can get a training and they can directly send to the business or job market. So I will stop here and then come back later on. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Bhola, for bringing in 2 additional points which were not mentioned. One is of gender distribution, which is very important in any demographic, in order to get demographic dividend, because we have to get it from all sectors. And the other point that you really is worth deliberating on further is collaboration through joint degrees. You have started that, and Professor Pillai will agree that the new education policy is allowing that too, but there is many a slip between the cup and the lip. So in order to really make international collaborations, this will be, we have got a thing called visa, we have got a thing called borders. We are still not in an area, BIMSTEC without borders. So we will have to have some mechanism of facilitating such international collaborations. I would say not joint PhD degrees only. For example, a student in Nepal can do his undergraduate project also at Myanmar maybe. Why not? So why shouldn't we have that flow on? So those are the things we must look at. And while you tried to merge and Pashupati and Tirupati, somehow Brahma went missing. So somebody will have to take him up, right? So next Vishnu Maheshwar is covered, but Brahma has not yet been covered. So may I now move to Dr. Shubhano Bose, who is very well known for his contribution to hospitality industry, and he is the chief mentor of IIHM. Dr. Bose.
Thank you. Very good afternoon to all of you and to all the fellow delegates. And Mr. Basu, it's a great pleasure to be with you once again. So I represent a very different kind of spectra, if you like, the service sector, which is not the IITs of the world. I have nothing against IITs. I just feel that Indians are so obsessed with IITs, just like that. Indians have to get out of this nightmare of the IIT dream. So I'm a chartered accountant by education, and for 35 years been in the hospitality and tourism sector all over the world. Apart from all the cities of India, I work in collaboration with Thailand, with Kasam Bundit University for last 18 years. With the MOU, we have students in there. We work with Bangladesh in Sylhet, and I work in Uzbekistan, Samarkand, which is very interesting actually. So my background is very different in a way. I hope that all of you love food, right? So one thing that binds all these countries, food and hospitality. I think all these countries are absolutely awesome in food, right? If you talk about Thailand, of course, everybody's favorite. Talk about Nepal, talk about India, of course, Sri Lankan food and hospitality. So what we have seen over the last 7 to 9 years before COVID, that the power of hospitality have shifted from the west to the east. Whether it's about Singapore, about Thailand, it's about the countries in the Far East. A lot of Indians are traveling. I think everyone in Calcutta travels to Thailand at a fall of a hat actually. So the entire friendship which the lady was speaking so nicely, the Education is for the young people. We work with the young people. So education is not very different. And I must quote a very famous word from Mahatma Gandhi, where he said that literacy is not the end of education, it's not even the beginning. So we have to understand that education and literacy should not be same. It's not about getting the first class first and you can still be the worst guy in the world. So the humanity, which was also explained by Professor Basu, is very important. In hospitality, tourism, service sector, I think there is a huge, huge demand. The demand for India, talking about India, Professor Pillai was talking about India in a macro level very, very candidly. We need skills. I am a firm believer of skilling India. I think where the higher education has its own space, we all have got higher education possibly who are sitting in this elite room in an elite 5-star hotel. But the guys on the road needs a skill. If you're talking about India, if you're talking about Bangladesh, where I go very often, talking about Thailand, it's all about skills. Whether it's skill about any industry, about hospitality, whether it's the plumbing, it's about electrician, it's about ITS, it's about communication, it's about marketing, it's about skill. The one way that India can actually go up to one of the biggest economy in the world is by skilling the youth of India. I think India's ascendancy to the G20 presidency have shown us this very, very openly, that we need to skill India. The Y20, Y is youth. The Y20, I think, is equally important as G20, because the youth of India are the real India. They are the guys who are going to take India in the next 100 years to glory. And if you cannot skill the youth of our country, just putting them into a formal education and quoting numbers and statistics will not help us to go anywhere, sir. We need to make people employable. We need to make them speak in their regional language. There is a strange obsession about English in India, which I find it absolutely very, very complex. Go to Thailand, hardly people speak in English. Swadee khap. And everybody understands Swadee khap. One of the best hospitality person in the world comes from Thailand. They don't speak English. China don't speak English. Japan don't speak English. So why this so much obsession about if you can't speak English, then you are not in the society? So we need to come out of these mindsets and encourage education in regional language. Because what we need is skill. Our electrician, we all know if the power goes out of our house, how difficult it is to get an electrician. You agree? You agree? Yes? Yes? Even if you pay money, you don't get an electrician. If your tap leaks, you go to God, you will not get a plumber. Right? Skills. And that plumber don't speak in English. But for you at that night, the plumber is a God. Skill India. Very, very important. I think that is the part of education which we need to glorify. The problem is that the aspiration level is so low because of the people like us, that a lot of people don't want to go there because they feel that, oh, that's not what I should aspire. My son should go to Kota to do our 4-year coaching to get a IIT. That's the mindset we need to come out of. And unless we come out of it, the nation building will never happen. We'll still be very elitist society, in spite of being not a very elite country. I think I'd just like to add one thing. For the last 9 years, we do one international Olympiad called Young Chef Olympiad, where 60 countries come to India. 60 countries, you heard it right. 60 countries comes to India, including all these countries which are here. And for 10 days, this young chefs from 60 countries become friends, more than cooking and anything. They become the friends for life. So the people who came even 8 years back, they're still friends. And this is exactly what we need in education, in BIMSTEC and in the G20. When you guys came from Thailand and Nepal, you should have come with 20 of your students. And we could have given 20 of Indian students. And that 100 students would have been the best example of this, where they share knowledge, emotion, and they share the culture, and they become, and that is, I think, the real education of life. Last thing I want to add on, because before Dr. Basu, Professor Basu stops me, is sustainability. I see this logo in this standee and makes my heart swell actually with pride. Sustainability is something which is integral part of any society, any country now. And in education, this is even more important than ever before. Sustainable goals, SDG, Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, are something is a part of our life. SDG number 4, quality education, it's something which is very integral. Number 10 is reduced inequalities. Reduced inequalities in education is very, very important. Unless we reduce the inequality, there would never be social mobility in our country. And the last SDG goal, the 17th one, is partnership. And that's exactly why all of we are sitting here. Partnership is the core of the SDGs. And I think if we all partner together, if we try to make it a better world for the young people of the world, and look beyond the degrees, PhDs, IITs, I think the world will be a better place for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bose, for illuminating us about the importance of skill. It's true that since independence, polytechnics were built, ITIs were built, and we wrote in school days essays on dignity of labor. But in our lives, we always forgot the dignity of labor and went for academics and sort of intellectualism and all those, and skills took a back seat. Now, that is really important that we give skill its due honor, and so that I sometimes feel that all the universities should have more seats for skills, and this class division between Polytechnic, ITI and Professor Pillai may comment much better than me on this, but I feel this is creating a casteism in education. That should go out. And another very important thing is for the common, we always talk about GER. We quote the GER, gross enrollment ratio. We never talk about GDR, gross dropout ratios. That is never quoted. How many students drop out in the midst? We push them in the school through midday meals and everything, and start teaching them in English. And in course, many of them drop out. I personally teach a number of first generation children, and I know how difficult it is for them to cope up with everything being taught in English. So local languages should be given its place, and I'd like to know about this, particularly the situation in Thailand from Professor Surat. What is the importance of teaching in mother language in Thailand, and what implications are you having? So along with other points you want to make, if you can please touch upon this as well. Thank you.